So thank you for joining me this morning. We are going to walk through opportunities in command. And before we actually jump into opportunities, I kind of want to talk through what opportunities are, um, or what the applet does. And at its core and bare minimum, opportunities is a sales pipeline management tool. It allows you to keep track of all the potential sales opportunities that you have and manage those relationships and those tasks so that way you don't forget anything. Knowing that at different phases of a relationship and of the sales process, you'll be required to do certain things or have follow-up information or touch base with certain agents. So that is really what it is at its core. Opportunities is also where you have to submit your documents for compliance review. So if you decide for nothing else, you don't actually want to use opportunities, you still have to use it to submit your your contracts to Lynn and Alita for compliance review. Any questions on that? We'll go through the system so you can have a little bit more context on that. But just wanted to lay that out there of what opportunities is, so you understand it before we actually jump in. All right, so to get started in opportunities, I'm going to go to the opportunities applet. So I'm going to click on my KW app or logo in the top left-hand corner. Then I'll click on opportunities. And then here you will see an overview of your sales pipelines. So up here in the top of the screen, you can see I have my Nicholas Core Real Estate Group. That's my team that I have for training. So you won't have that here. You should just have your name, all opportunities. And I don't think you'd have all discussions because that should be for teams as well. Below that, we have our listings sales pipeline. And these are the 5 different phases of that pipeline: cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and closed. Then on the far right, we have GCI. And GCI is our gross commission income. And this calculates what our potential income and what our probable income is based on our sales pipeline and where all of those pieces of business are along in the process. Knowing that as we get further and further and further along in the sales pipeline, the likelihood of closing increases. So we can kind of get a quick overview of what we think our income will be. And then below listings, we're going to have our buyer's pipeline, and it's going to have the same phases and its own potential GCI income here. And then below that, we have leases. So if you do any rental properties, whether representing the tenant or the landlord, you would have all of those in your pipeline here. And then at the bottom of the page, it has just a quick breakout of your listings, buyers, and leases, and kind of your activity throughout the month. So you can kind of see which part of the year you're most busy and which types of buyers or sellers are you working with most often. And then if you have any listings this month, it'll show you down here. So all of the sales pipelines have the same exact phases. And those phases are cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and closed. However, within each one of those phases, they are broken down into individual stages, kind of like so that way each little micro task or activity is broken down and it's a little bit more easy to manage. So this morning, we're going to go through how to set up all those different stages in each phase. And then we'll also walk through how to create an actual opportunity. Today, we're going to walk through the listings opportunity sales funnel. It's going to be the same process for either listings or buyers, but just for time, we'll just go through listings. So to do that, I'm going to click on cultivate to go into the cultivate phase, but you could click on any of them. I'm going to click on cultivate. And this is going to show me my stages for cultivate. So within cultivate, so we have watch lead, nurture lead, hot lead, training 3-1. And this is a stage that I'd added from a previous training. So you'll notice it says watch lead, and to the right of that, it says 0. That's because I currently have 0 opportunities listed in the watch lead. Same thing for nurture, hot lead, and training. Then to the right of that, it says 5%. And then for nurture lead, it says 7%, and then hot lead, 10%. And you'll notice that slowly increases, that number increases as you get further down the cultivate phase. And that's because as an opportunity moves from one stage to the next, the likelihood of closing that piece of business increases. And so this number here helps manage what our potential or probable GCI is throughout the sales process. So that way it can more accurately count what we expect to make in our earnings. It's going to default to this board view, so you can kind of see all the different stages as side-by-side rectangles. If you prefer, you can look at it as a list view, and that way you can kind of see everything in a list. Same information, just a different format. Now, this would be personal preference. I personally like the list view, or excuse me, the board view, so I'm going to move back to that. Now, to get started on actually editing and personalizing the stages, we're going to click on the Edit Stage button up here in the top right-hand corner. You can see here is a list of the 4 stages that I currently have. I'm going to go ahead, I'm just going to quickly delete this one right here because this is just a made-up one. I have 3 stages here, and I've gone through and I've personalized these. You likely will not have any of these because you have not yet updated or personalized them. I'm going to share with you a PDF of all the different stages that you may want to add for each phase of your opportunity sales funnels for both buyers and sellers. So I'm going to share that right now in the Zoom window. Let me over here. Let me share file. Where's my chat? Here we go. So I'm going to send a file really quickly. Here we have the buyers. And sellers. So I've just sent through PDFs and both the sellers and buyers pipelines. So that way you can kind of follow along, and you can just use this as a starting point. And as you go through, your business starts to build, you can personalize them and make them your own as you would like. So if you want to add a stage, up here in the top right-hand corner, we'll click Add Stage. And then we'll give this stage a name. So I'll name this training 426. Then below that, I'm going to give this a probability, and this is going to be the probability of this piece of business closing. So I'm going to say this is, if I were to be able to get someone to this stage, it'll be likelihood of closing 12%. And of my stages within the cultivate phase, I want this to be the last one, but I could change it. I could make it, I want this to be the 3rd of 4. Below that, we have a checklist. And a checklist is going to be a series of tasks or activities that you need to do at this specific stage to help manage that relationship. So if you want to add checklist items, you can click Add Item. And so I'll name this send, let's just do CMA info. And then below the name of the checklist, we have this option that says Client Updates. In opportunities, we have the ability to have the system automatically send updates to our clients once we complete tasks. I walked through this a little bit in TC01, and we'll walk through it a little bit more later on this morning. But as you're going through all the different phases and stages and you're completing those tasks, the system can automatically update the client and say, hey, Nick just sent the CMA info and did XYZ activities on your behalf. Because so much of the work that we do is actually behind the scenes, and our clients don't actually know that we're doing the work, or they don't see it. So the system will automatically let them know that we are doing work on their behalf. So if you wanted to, you could click Send Client Update and click Save. And then you can add an additional task item. So additional item and click Save. And I can have another one and click Save. Now, I did not check Client Update for either one of these second items. It does give me the ability on the right-hand side. I could check it here. And then to the right of that, it also gives me these three dots where I can click on it, and it gives me the ability to edit or delete. So I can edit this if I want to rename it. So I can name this, save that to additional item 426. And if I wanted to delete, I could delete and then confirm. So that's how easy it is to add a stage. So if you've opened up that PDF that I sent, you'll notice that it's set up in a very similar configuration where it has the 5 different phases. And then with each one of those 5 phases, it's broken up into the individual stages and then broken up into individual checklists. So I'm going to click Save. So now it had just added my new stage here, training 426, with my probability of 12%. Now, remember, I had set it to be the 3rd of the 4th stages. I can reorder them if I want. I can just click on this button over here in the far left and drag it into whichever position I would like. I'm going to put this as my 4th one today, so that way you can see the probability increases a little bit with each item. To the left, I can always come back and I can edit. So I can edit the stage name and the probability. If I want to edit any of the checklist items, I can click on checklist here and I can add an item. I can set it up for client update, edit, or delete. Any questions so far? Going through this pretty quickly, I understand. Actually, I'm going to open up that PDF really quickly so we can talk through it. Where is this? All right, I'm going to stop share and then I'm going to reshare my screen so you can see the training guide. Here we go. So this is the listing checklist. So you can see here is my cultivate phase. I always get them mixed up. So on the left-hand side, we have all of our phases. So cultivate. Then we have our stage of watch lead, and this has a 5% probability of closing. And if you think of this as, this is going to be when you first meet someone, so you're cultivating that relationship. And your tasks for this are going to be to get a phone number, get email, and get address of those leads. And that's how you can start to establish that rapport and stay in touch with them. Then once you complete all those tasks, then they can move into the nurture lead stage. And this will be a follow-up call, set them up on a drip campaign, send a call to action, either phone call, email, direct mail. And then once you've completed all those, you can move them into the hot lead and you can contact seller to set up that listing appointment. So this would be a bit of a baseline of just a place to get started. You can go through and you can personalize this and make any edits or changes that you want. But for me, it was really helpful to use this just to get started in setting up my sales pipeline. And you see, as we get down here through appointment, active, under contract, there becomes a lot more tasks or checklist items within each one of the stages. But the probability also increases, so the likelihood of getting paid is good to go. Any questions on this listing checklist or the buyer's checklist that I sent through?
Nick, how often would you run this? Would you do this every Monday? Would you do this once? Like, how often is there a routine that you would run this report? I guess that's my question.
So this isn't going to be a report. This is going to be kind of a one and done. So once you go through opportunities and you set up each one of these tasks or each one of these stages and checklist items, you should be good to go.
Gotcha. Okay, I'll follow that now. Yeah. Thank you.
But you do always have the ability to go back and edit based on what your business actually does. So if you notice, like, you know what, I don't really use a hot lead stage. I can remove it or I can change it to something that I do actually use. Um, so it's actually more beneficial to you.
Hey, Nick,
Yes.
you said it's in the chat. Where
Yeah,
did you send it?
I sent it in the chat. Do you want me to resend it real quickly?
Yeah, because I don't see it on my chat.
Okay. Yeah. Let me send it again. So just sent those through. There's 2 PDFs. Let me know if you.
Still didn't get it. I don't know. My chat is blank. I don't know. It's a signal issue.
Did anyone else receive them?
Yeah, Nick, this is
Yes, I
Wendy. I
received them.
got them.
Mhm.
Barbara, I can send it to you in an email after class.
Thank you so much.
You are very welcome. So I'm going to click back to listing so you can kind of get an overview again of all the different phases and stages. So you can see here, I have my cultivate phase with my different stages that I've set up. Then I have my appointment. Any questions on setting this up, on making edits or changes to it? All right. Again, you can always come up here to go to edit stages, and then you can go through and you can personalize those. I'm going to click back because I want to go back to my opportunities home screen. So now that I've set up my sales funnel, I now want to go through and start adding pieces of business to my sales funnel. So if you think of an opportunity as any potential opportunity that you have to close a piece of real estate business. So if you are at a party one Saturday evening, and you start talking with someone and they're like, oh, hi, my name is Samantha. Oh yeah, I'm thinking of buying or selling a new home in the next 6 months. You could then come back and add Samantha as an opportunity. Because now you've been like, hey, Samantha, I'm a real estate agent with Keller Williams. I would love to talk with you more about your plans to buy or sell. And she'd probably be like, all right, great. And then I would create the opportunity here so I can manage all the different actions and activities I have to do to cultivate that relationship to get Samantha from someone that I just met at a party all the way to the closing table. So when I come back onto my computer Sunday morning, I'm going to create an opportunity for Samantha. So to do that, I'm going to come within my opportunities applet, and then I'm going to click create opportunity up here in the top right-hand corner. And it's going to give me this pop-up window. And here I'm going to fill in all of the information regarding this opportunity. So Market Center should default to Atlanta Sandy Springs. If you're on a team, it should default to your team here. If not, it'll be blank. Below here, we have opportunity type. And we have the option of listing, buyer, landlord, or tenant. I do want to point out that once you select the opportunity type, you are unable to go back and change that type. So let's say you're creating this opportunity and it defaults to listing, but you actually wanted to make a buyer opportunity. The system doesn't allow you to go back and edit. You'd have to archive the opportunity and create a whole new one, which isn't too big of a deal, but it just takes a couple extra minutes. So just be mindful as you're creating the opportunity type or selecting it that you select the correct one. So today I'm going to select buyer because Samantha is going to be a buyer. And then the owner, this is going to be the owner of the opportunity. So it's not going to be the owner of a piece of property. So if you're the owner of the opportunity, which means that you're managing that business, then have your name here. If you're on a team or in a group, you may want to change this to the rainmaker or whoever's going to be the owner of it. Below here, we're going to add in our client. One thing I want to point out is if, let's say Samantha is a new client, I would have had to previously have added her as a contact in the contacts applet. I cannot add her as a contact directly here in the opportunity. So I'm just going to start typing in. I'm just going to use myself. I'll use this contact here for Nicholas training. And if there's a co-buyer, I could add that here. And the fun thing is if you set up any relationships in the contact, it's going to automatically show who that spouse, partner, whoever the co-buyer could be. You don't have to select this person. If you don't want to, you can click X there. So you're good to go. Below that is opportunity name. And the opportunity name is going to be very important because it's going to help you, one, keep track of the opportunity, but it's also going to be helpful for the MCA office to keep track of all of the documents relating to this opportunity and any documents and checks that they receive in their office. So the way that they like to have their opportunities name set up would be the property address dash client name dash buyer. Now you'll notice if you're working with a buyer, I just met this person. We haven't even talked about where this contact wants to live. So at first, for a buyer, you can leave the opportunity name as the client's name dash buyer. And then once you go under contract, then you can come back and you can edit the opportunity name to include the property address. So the MCA office knows that any contracts or documents related to a specific property are automatically related to this opportunity. Below the opportunity name are custom tags. And custom tags and opportunities are going to be similar as contact tags in the contact applet, but they're two very separate systems. Custom tags here are going to allow you to kind of dissect and organize your business based on specific, I guess, features of them. So you may want to put in the parts of town. So this is going to be a buyer. She's looking in Smyrna. It is a former coworker. And you can go through and type in any custom tag that you want. So these are custom tags that I've already created. But if you want to create a new custom tag, just start typing in whatever you want that new custom tag to be. And then you can select create new tag. And it's that simple. I would add as many custom tags as you can think relevant to this piece of business. Because the goal of having these custom tags is that at the end of the year, probably come September, October, and you're starting to think of what your 2022 business plans and business goals are, you'll be able to pull out this information and look at all the business that you've closed for the previous 12 months. And you'll be able to say, okay, wow, I really did a disproportionate amount of business in Smyrna. I really need to focus on Smyrna because that's where people see me as an expert and I know a lot of information. And I can see a lot of my pieces of business are coming from leads that I've met at open houses. So that as you start to plan your business goals for the next year, you can say, I need to host an open house every single weekend in Smyrna. And that lets you know what are the actions and activities that you need to take next year as you create that business plan. Or I could say, I saw that I really did a lot of business in Smyrna, but I can see the second most popular area that I did business in was in Decatur. That is an opportunity that I can start to build out my business in Decatur. So then I can start to figure out what my business goals are so I can manage being that local expert in Smyrna, but also building my presence and reputation in Decatur.
Hey, Nick, this is Hemi. Just a quick question. Do you have like a good standard list of tags that would be good to create so we can just go ahead and get those set up, or?
I do not.
Okay.
But the easiest way that I think of doing it is kind of the parts of town that they're looking in.
Okay.
Price point. So if they're looking between 200 to 300,000, something like that. How you know them. What type of property they're looking for. So single family, condo, investment, flip, anything like that. Any information that you can know about them, go ahead and add as a custom tag. But those would kind of be the starting points that I would think.
Okay. Thanks, Nick.
You're welcome. So below the custom tags, we have estimated close date. And this, we just met this person and Samantha was like, oh, it'll be, like 6 to 8 months. So I can just come over here and I can say estimated close date. So she's probably looking, we'll just say to be conservative, November 12th. Time frame, 6 months. Budget, we may not have talked about budget, so I don't know, but I hear, she may have said, oh, 275. And again, the benefit of putting the budget in here is that Command will be able to project what my potential GCI will be based on this opportunity. Commission rate, I negotiated 3% commission rate, so I'm going to make sure that I'll put 3 in there. And then the opportunity phase and stage, it will default to cultivate and watch. That's going to be the first stage. You can always come back and you can edit. So if you were like, you know what, from this conversation with Samantha, let's say she was like, you know what, come over on Tuesday. I want to have a listing appointment with you. I want to hear exactly, or a buyer's consultation, excuse me, with you. Well, you can just kind of skip through cultivate and go straight to appointment. And then you can update the stage accordingly. So just update these, or put in the correct stage, phase, and stage based on the conversation and where you are with that relationship. So once I've filled in all of this information, I'm going to click on create. And this is going to create the opportunity for me. So once you do that, it's going to default you here into the details tab of your opportunity. This is just going to be all that overview information of the opportunity. Up here, you'll see our general information, and to the right of that, there's a pencil icon. Anytime you see this pencil icon in Command, that lets you know that you have the ability to edit, which is really helpful. So as you're going through the sales process with this person, you can click on the pencil here, and you can come back and you can make any edits that you want. So if I needed to make any edits to the people involved in this transaction, to the phase or stage, I could do that here. If I've gone ahead and I've scheduled that appointment, I can add that information in here. I can add information about their loan type. Also, and very importantly, we have the ability to edit the opportunity name. So once you go under contract on the property, I recommend that you come back into the edit general information field and type in whatever that property address is and update that opportunity name. So I'm going to click save. And here we have our updated opportunity name. We're good to go. Also, once you go under contract on a piece of property with this opportunity, come over here to where it says property, and we're going to edit this information. So I'm going to type in 1234 Main Street, Atlanta, and it's going to automatically pull in that address based on Google information. You can edit this if you need to, or you can manually add it in if you want. But I recommend you add that information, because the more information you can add here, the better. It's going to be more helpful for you as you're working on this piece of business, as well as when you need to come back and reference it in the future, as well as the MCA office being able to correctly identify any pieces of information that are related to this transaction. So this is the general details tab. Up here in the top right-hand corner of this information, you can see that it says lost opportunity with the tab, our little toggle. Lost opportunity is if, and only select this if it is truly a lost opportunity. Let's say I'm working with this client and we miss out on 3 contracts on a new home, and Samantha is just like, you know what, like, I'm done. I don't need to move that badly. I'm just going to renew my lease for another 12 months. Maybe we can talk about this next year when things aren't so crazy and there's a little bit more inventory. That's truly a lost opportunity, because that you no longer have the ability to close this. This person is taking themselves out of the real estate market, so it is lost. An archived opportunity would be if you create an opportunity and you're like, oh, oops, I accidentally made a listing opportunity versus a buyer opportunity. I need to archive the listing opportunity and recreate or create a new buyer one, just so you know the difference. Archived would also be if you already closed that piece of business, you can set it to archive. But just know that lost opportunity is truly if they take themselves out of the real estate market. And the reason it's important to only label opportunities that are truly lost as lost opportunities is because this will affect your numbers of probability of closing, because the system will learn as you move people through the sales pipeline what the actual percentage or likelihood of closing that is. So if you have a ton of lost opportunities right around that watch, lead, stage of cultivate, it's going to start to affect your probable GCI income information. So to the right of the details tab is buyer profile. So I'm going to click on that, and then you'll see here it has my 2 contacts, and where it says app association not registered with the consumer platform. All this information is saying is that my clients for this opportunity have not downloaded my app and created a profile, or have not gone to my website and created a profile there using the same email addresses that I have associated with them in the contact. Down here for guide, if they have downloaded the app, within each app, there is a buyer's guide and a seller's guide. And we can walk through that in just a moment as well. But that is kind of a place where they can go at any time of day. So if it's 11 o'clock at night and they're like, oh, okay, we just saw this property, I'm really excited, I'm thinking about making an offer, what are the steps and activities that I need to do as the buyer to submit a contract? So it just kind of helps manage the process, so they have that in the palm of their hand at all hours of the day. To the right of buyer profile, click on documents, and the documents tab is where we are going to upload and manage all of the documents for compliance review. I do want to clarify that there are no GAR forms actually in Command. All of the forms that you need to use for your real estate transactions are going to be in DocuSign or Remine or Dotloop, or whichever e-signature platform that you use. I also want to clarify that you have to be a member of a board of realtors to have access to the Georgia Association of Realtors forms. If you are not a member of a board, I believe in our office it is a requirement. So once you join the board, you'll then have access to those GAR forms. So you'll notice over here we have it says residential. So we're working on a residential buyer transaction. We have these different folders for consultation, under contract, and closed. In consultation, it says do not use upload docs to under contract folder. Our MCA office does not like to use the consultation folder, so don't upload anything here. You can come to the under contract folder, and here it's going to have a list of all the documents that are required and all the documents that will be likely accompanying any contract. So we have a list of our purchase and sale, counter offer, and then we'll scroll down. Then we have our buyer brokerage agreement, our Wall Street affiliated marketing, and wire fraud disclosures. These are all required. Now with a buyer transaction, you only submit documents to compliance review once you go under contract. So once you have a signed contract, you would then upload that contract, all of its related documents and exhibits, as well as the buyer brokerage and disclosures documents. To find the GAR forms, most likely you're using DocuSign, which is great. To connect DocuSign to this opportunity, I'm going to click on Start a Transaction. It's very important that if you use DocuSign to manage your e-signature, the e-signature aspect of your documents, that you click Start a Transaction, because one of the main benefits of using DocuSign is that it automatically syncs and connects with Command. And that prevents you from having to download documents to your computer and then have to manually upload them into Command. By having the two systems synced, you can take documents directly from DocuSign and put it directly into Command.
Hey, Nick,
Yes.
can you repeat what you said about submitting to MC? Did you say to wait until you were under contract, so you don't want us to kind of piecemeal it together and submit?
Correct. So when you're working with a buyer, You wait until you have a signed binding contract to submit that contract, as well as a buyer brokerage agreement and disclosures to Lynn and Alita for compliance review.
So it's only if it's a buyer?
Yeah, so for a buyer, that you wait till you have a binding contract. If you're
Okay.
working with a seller, as soon as you have that signed listing agreement, you upload it and submit for compliance review.
Okay.
Then once you go under contract for that listing, you would then resubmit with that binding purchase and sale agreement.
Okay, so if we were with a buyer and we only submitted the agreement, they would come back and say, hey, where's everything else?
Yes.
Okay.
Or then you would just have to say, oh, we don't have a binding contract, and then say, all right, just once you have a binding contract, resubmit everything for review.
Okay, thanks.
So I'm going to click start a transaction right here, and this is going to open up DocuSign in a new window. I'm just going to sign in really quickly, and I'm not going to really do anything in DocuSign, but I just want to point out that when you create this DocuSign room, it's going to have the same naming convention as the opportunity in Command, and that's how you know the two systems are synced. So now that I've come over here and I've created my DocuSign room, I'm just going to close this.
Hey,
And
Nick,
yeah.
question. So if you update the opportunity name, does it still sync with DocuSign, or do you have to update it in DocuSign?
You would have to click on sync transaction here, and that
Okay.
would update any of the information from the opportunity into DocuSign.
Okay.
But that being said, if for whatever reason you don't update the room name in DocuSign, it's still going to be synced and it'll be fine.
Okay.
So let's say we've gone through the process here. I'm ready to start uploading some of my documents. I can come over here, I can click add a file. And then it gives me 3 different options of source of documents. Manual, so if I wanted to upload it from my computer, DocuSign, or custom folders. By having started a transaction in Command, it linked DocuSign to this opportunity, and now it would show me all of the documents that I have signed, ready to be uploaded. So obviously I don't have any documents in this room, so I can just click cancel. But that's really going to be the main benefit of using DocuSign, is its integration into Command. You can always come back over here and you can, click manual, and then you can, drag and drop a document and then click assign. And then you'll notice that as soon as I upload a document, this submit to MC button becomes active. So now I could submit this to the MC Market Center for compliance review. But you'd want to make sure that you upload all of your documents that you have for this transaction first. Now, this list of documents here is pretty thorough. However, it doesn't have every document that you'll need, and it doesn't have any amendments that you may add to that contract throughout the process. So if you ever need to add a document to the room, or excuse me, to the opportunity that's not listed here, you can come over here to add item. And you can give this a document a name, and you can say this is amendment to address concerns. You can select the document type. And there's a list here of about 7 different document types. You just want to select the document type that is most similar to that document. It doesn't have to be the exact type. It's not going to affect compliance review at all. So I'll just make this an addendum. And then I could add my source of documents. So I can just come over here. I'm just manually dragging in a document for training purposes, and then click save. And then it's added that document down here at the bottom. So you would do that for all the documents that you have. Over here in the folder section, we have custom folders, and you can add custom folders if you want. So I would recommend adding custom folders and maybe adding your inspection report, an appraisal report, any other additional information that you have about the property, because one of the benefits, or another benefit of Command, is that you can kind of think of this as a Dropbox for all of your transactions. So once you've closed out this piece of business, let's say next year your client is like, hey, Nick, We just noticed that our HVAC system isn't working very well. I kind of remember that the inspector said something about that, but I'm not sure. Do you have a copy of that inspection report so we can double check to see if this was something that we knew about? And I could say, give me 5 minutes and I'll send you over a copy, because I can come back into the archived opportunity, pull up that information, that document, download it and send it over. So if you want to create a custom folder, just click add new custom folder. And I can say inspection report, create folder. Now I have my little folder over here. Now there aren't going to be a list of documents here because this is a custom folder, but I would click add document and it'll go through the same steps that I previously showed you to add this document. So I could select inspection and then just gonna upload a document, click add. And now I will have this inspection report in my opportunity indefinitely indefinitely in the future. So let's say I lose my computer or my computer crashes, I don't have to worry about losing all those documents because they're still going to be stored here in my opportunity.
Nick, once you add it to the opportunity, if you wanted, for example, like the examples that you gave, whether it was inspection or appraisal, when you create those folders, would I have that every time I create a new opportunity, or is it's individual to the opportunity that you added it to?
It is individual to the opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah. So you'd have to add those folders if you wanted to use those custom folders for every single opportunity. The idea being is that, like, you may not, if you're working on a listing, you may not get an inspection report.
Yep. Okay.
They may not show that with you. So
Quick question.
Yep.
All these documents we load, are they going to be like saved and archived here forever?
Yep.
Or okay, cool. So 10 years later, if somebody said, was that on my inspection report? We can come back and find it here.
Yep. Assuming you're still with Keller Williams in 10 years. Yep. It'll still be here.
Okay.
Any other questions about the documents tab? All right. Again, I just want to clarify, this is going to be where you upload all of your documents to submit to MC for compliance review. So you just click submit to MC and you're good to go. Now, once you have a binding contract, you have to submit a offers and commissions to the MCA office. In the past, we used green sheets, but I think we are officially moving away from green sheets. So now we are going to submit commissions. And this is going to let the MCA office know that we're under contract, that they should be on the lookout for any earnest money, and let them know what our expected commission will be so they can calculate any fees we have to pay and how much money we will make from this transaction. To do that, I'm going to click on offers and commissions. And there's a couple steps that we have to do. The first one is going to be to add a new offer. So the idea here between the offer is that if I were working with a listing, I could create multiple offers for every single offer that we received, and I could review them and compare them all in command for my clients. However, for buyers, it doesn't quite work the same way because usually we're just going to submit one offer, but you could theoretically put in different offer scenarios so they could see them side by side, and you can say, hey, these are 3 different offer scenarios that we talked through. Here are the pros and cons of each. But the way that I use offers and commissions, especially for buyers, is once I have a binding contract, I'll come in here and I'll put in the details of that contract. So I'm going to click on add new offer. I'm just going to give this a name. So I'll make this initial offer, or you can name this binding contract for 26 and then click create offer. And very similar to everything else in Command, we'll just kind of start at the top of the page and fill in all of the relevant information. So we have our offer name, our offer date, our closing date. So I want to go through here and I'll update this to, let's do 5/28. Property address. So I'm just going to start typing in 1234 Main Street. Just pull that one. And then once I'm good to go, I'll click parties. It's going to pull in my buyer's name from the contact and from the opportunity card. I do need to put in the seller's name, so I need to look up his or her name from the contract or from the tax record. So I'll just name John Doe. And then you'll notice that some of the fields have a red asterisk next to them, some don't. Any of the fields with those asterisks are required, so you will have to fill in information there. I'm going to scroll down, fill in the rest of the information. My clients are pre-qualified. I'm their agent. Here's my name, email address. I can just type in my phone number. 238. The representative, the co-op agents, the listing agents information, and I'll name this. Let's do Jane Doe Smith. And I'm not going to put in her email address or phone number because it's fine. But I could if I wanted to. I'll click terms. And then here, we're going to start putting in the specifics of this contract. So up here, we're going to put in the information about the sales price of the home. So it's broken up into the cash, so what their down payment is going to be, plus how much they're going to finance of this purchase for the total sales price. So let's say they are going to do down payment of $30,000, and they're going to finance $245,000 for a total sales price of $275,000. So you can see that when I put in the cash and finance amount, it automatically calculates that sales price. Below that, we have our earnest money amount, and it gives us two options here. We can put a percentage or an actual cash amount. If they're just going to do 1%, you can type in 1%, it'll automatically calculate the earnest money amount. Or you can come over here and type in a specific amount, and it will calculate what that percentage is. This is also going to let the MCA office know how much that earnest money check should be that they're on the lookout for. Scrolling down, we have our option fee. So likely you're not going to use options, not very popular, but if you wanted to, you can put that in here if you worked on an option. If you do work on an option here, I'd recommend reaching out to Lynn or Alita just to get more information and specifics on how that would work, since it isn't a commonly used feature of many of our buyer brokerage or listing agreements. Below that, we have our termination option. And here in Georgia, this is going to be our due diligence. So the buyer will give notice of termination within blank days after contract. So I negotiated 10 days of due diligence for my clients. You can put in whatever number there that you negotiate. Seller costs, the seller will contribute blank amount to a residential service contract. So this would be a home warranty, for instance. And then the other option is a seller will contribute blank amount to settlement costs. So this would be the seller's contribution to closing costs. And we were able to negotiate $3,500 in seller's contribution to closing costs.
Are you using business days or calendar days?
In real estate, everything is calendar days unless otherwise specified on the contract.
Okay.
Now you can put that in the contract of total days counted are based on business days, blah, blah, blah. That'd be a special stipulation that you could add. So I'm going to click agent analysis. So here you can type in the pros and the cons of this offer. Now, since we're already binding, I don't really need to write anything here, but this would be mainly the benefit of if you are comparing offers or different offer scenarios of what your client could submit, you could put the pros and cons here. Once you're done filling in all this information, click save. And it's going to give us this offer timeline. It's going to show us the offer, all the information that we've just filled in, and it gives us the ability to accept, reject, and then to the right of that, we have three dots. We can add negotiations, edit offer, add analysis, send offer, or remove offer. So you could always send this offer. So this would be if you wanted to compare multiple offers, you could send this to the client and they'll get an email directly from command. But since for today's example, we're already binding, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click accept. And now once the system updates, it gives us the ability to change response, or manage commission. And this manage commission button is where we're going to be, where we're going to click to update all the information regarding our commission. So we know how much we're getting paid and the MCA office knows what numbers to run and how everything calculates. So I'm going to click manage commission. And it's going to pull in all the information that I have just added through that offer analysis. But there are some fields I need to go through and update and correct and add some additional information. The first one here is I see that I'm missing the contract date. So I'm going to edit general information. I'm going to come over here to my contract date and I'll set that as today's date of 4/26. My commission rate of 3%. This is what I negotiated. If for whatever reason, the listing is only offering a 2 or 2.5% commission rate and you did not negotiate the difference with your clients, then you'd want to update that here to whatever that commission rate is. Total units being sold likely is going to be 1. If you're working on a team or a referral, then you'd want to update that accordingly. And if you ever have any questions on any of these fields and what they should be, always reach out to the MCA office. They can point you in the right direction of what information goes in here. So I'm going to click Save Changes. So now all this information here is good to go. I'm going to scroll down. We have our payment information. This is going to show based on a 2.5% commission, what my gross commission is going to be, and then break out my royalty split that I pay to the office as well, or to KWRI, as well as to First Atlanta. And then any other deductions down here that I may have to pay. If I want to make any edits to that, I can click Edit Payment Information. Let's say I wanted to submit $5 to KW Cares. I click Save Changes, and now it'll recalculate my information there. I'll come up here to the top right-hand corner, and it's going to be a quick overview. And so where I can double check the numbers, make sure everything is good to go. Additionally, before you click Submit, we want to click on Add Note. And it's very important because there are some fields of information that we need to include here. So I want to include the FMLS number, and I would get this directly out of FMLS. So I'm just going to type in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever. So that way the MCA office knows that this isn't an FMLS listing. We are an FMLS contracted office. So we do have to pay them for any transaction that we close. We also want to include, if you are in the pro coaching program with either Denise or Cindy, you would want to include coaching agent with Denise. And then if there are any other notes that you want to add here, you can. I would recommend, if this is going to be the transaction that you fully cap on, and let's say you only have to pay, a little bit of your cap left and it's not going to be the full transaction, I would include that here. Just so the MCA office knows, we'll cap on this transaction, only remaining, let's do 2,000 or $1,856 left on my associate royalty or my office royalty. So where they know, just to double check as they're putting together all the check information, they'll double, okay, perfect. We only need to take $1,856. I'll click Save Changes. Here are my notes. So it's there for the MCA office. And then once you are good to go here, and you can click Submit, and this will submit this commission to the MCA office. They'll know how much you're expected to get paid, how much they're expected to get paid, know how much that earnest money check is for, and when it is due. And they'll be able to go through and double check all that information against the contract and other documents that you have uploaded. There is going to be an accompanying document, a DocuSign Power Form that the MCA office has put together, and we're going to share that with you all this week. So it provides some additional information that we're not able to get here in Command that they do need to process your check.
That little caution sign below the submit button. Anything we need to look out for there?
So this, for today, this says excess agent commission of $13.75. You can send a note to Kyle, Becca, and Michael and say, hey, I got this little caution that says excess. I don't know exactly what this is or why that shows up, but you can ask them and they'll make sure that it gets taken care of accordingly so you don't miss out on any of your commission.
Who does that need to go to, Nick?
So when you click submit, this would, oh, well, if you send an email, that would go to Becca, Kyle, or Michael in the MCA office.
Got it.
But as soon as you click submit here, that automatically goes to the MCA office. Any other questions on the offers and commissions tab? All right, the next section is notes. And here's just where you can add any notes about the transaction. And this is going to be for your personal use. This is not for your clients to see. So if you just want to make a note of this client really enjoyed going to lunch after showings, did not like to see more than 4 homes at a single time. Anything else that you'd want to remember, because hopefully the goal is in the next 5 to 7 years, you could work with this client again to buy a new home. And you can come back here, reference those notes. And so when you're setting up showings, you can say, hey, I remember, let's go look at some houses and we'll go from like 10 to 1. And then after we look at those homes, let's grab lunch and we can kind of talk about them. And they're like, oh my God, I love to talk over lunch. And it just, helpful information for you to keep track of. The last tab here is timeline. And this is going to be really helpful for you to, if you ever have any questions about when any documents were submitted for compliance review or your commission was submitted, or when the MCA office has done anything on the back end, you can come here to timeline and it's going to show you a timeline of all the activity for this opportunity. Whether you did it, the compliance brokers did it, or the MCA office did the activity, you can come back here and you can check it. So if the MCA office is like, hey, we didn't receive a commissions submission from you, you can come here and say, yeah, I submitted that commission on 10/55, on 4/26. So it's just a place to come back and double check if there are ever any questions about any of the activities that have taken place throughout this transaction. Any questions about the specific tabs within that opportunity? All right. So what I want to do really quickly is, because we've created this opportunity, now I want to show you how to come back and find it once you're done. So let's say it's, 2 weeks from now and you're like, oh, I need to go update and add some documents to that opportunity for 1234 Main Street. To get back to that opportunity, you come over here to the opportunity icon of the 2 hands shaking. And then you could come into whichever specific phase of that opportunity they're in. For me, doesn't work really great for me. So what I like to do is I like to come here to all opportunities. And this is going to show me a list of all of my active opportunities. And I'll come over here to 1234 Main Street. This is the one I just created. So I can click on this. And this is going to take me back into all of those fields and all those tabs where I can update information and update documents, submit new documents, do my commissions, notes, and timeline. Any questions on that? All right, and then really quickly, because I know it's 11 o'clock and I want to be respectful of your time. One last thing I want to show you is if you go to your opportunities, and then I'm going to go to my specific opportunity that I just created today. Remember when we were setting up our different phases and stages, and each one of the stages had those checklist items? And we had the ability to set clients up to receive client email updates. If you would like to enroll your clients in those update emails, up here in the top right-hand corner, there's a button that says Client Updates. If you click on this, it's going to be where you activate those client updates. You have to turn them on manually for each specific opportunity. You can select the time of day that you want them to be sent out. So every morning at 10 a.m. Who you want them to come from. So the owner, since I'm the owner of this opportunity, it would set this up for me. Now it's going to send to, it's going to have all of the email addresses. So it looks like I need to add one here, nicholas@do.com. And this is going to pull in the information or the email addresses from their contact cards. If I need to add any additional contacts on here that need to receive information, whether that's a lender or a closing attorney or any other family member or something, you can set that up here. Design templates, right now we just have the one template, the default template, and this is a preview of what email would look like. Hi, John Smith, we're checking things off the list, and here it's going to tell them all the things that we have done on their behalf. There we go. And this is just, this would be updated with my actual information. And then you click Save Changes. I'm going to click Cancel because I don't actually want to enroll this, but that is how you'd set people up to receive those client update emails. That is our training this morning. What questions do you have? What can I clarify for you? Is there anything that I can show you? Again, I know we walked through a lot of information this morning. All right. Well, if there aren't any questions, I'll let you guys go. Thank you so much for joining me. As you start to work in opportunities, please do not hesitate to reach out with any questions. I'm always happy to set up some one-on-one time with you, or you can just give me a quick call. Let me know how I can best help. And Barbara, I will follow up with an email with those PDFs.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great rest of your Monday, and I will talk to you all soon.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.